So there are many different stakeholders in the healthcare industry, from healthcare providers, insurance companies, pharmaceuticals. What do you see are the main benefits derived for each stakeholder by utilizing technology such as the blockchain? And what are your thoughts regarding the usage of open public blockchains instead of closed permission blockchains for this purpose?
Okay, for the first part of the question, I mean, in order to understand and identify the different stakeholders, we need to understand what is the scope of every project. So first we need to identify what we want to achieve by a project, and then we identify the stakeholders. So for example, in the search solution, that is the solution that we have launched recently with the Mediterranean Hospital, it's pretty simple project in terms of identify the stakeholders and the benefits. For example, one of the stakeholders is the LIS, which is the Laboratory Information System that actually runs the molecular test for the COVID-19 test. And the other stakeholder, it's the end user who receives those results for his testing for COVID-19. On the back end, of course, there is Idante, who is making sure that everything, the flow, the processing of the data is GDPR compliant, but also how you share it as an experience on the app of the user. That's just an example, but as I said, in order to identify different stakeholders, you need to understand also what is the scope of a project. In the part 2 question about the differences between public blockchains and private blockchains, if I understood correct the question, well, let's start from the biggest difference, which is transparency. A public blockchain, it has the maximum level of transparency. There is the ledger where you can see the transactions. Of course, some of the private blockchains, they have the ledger, but they can share it with you, but it's not accessible to all of the public. When we think about blockchain, we need to think about in the democratic way. And who is the best, let's say, audience that actually, the check and balances in a democracy rest on the people. So if I have a solution that is permitted only to some people to read the transaction, how accountable, open accountability is justified on that one. The other difference is cost. When you are implementing a solution on a private blockchain, it's much more expensive than a public blockchain, especially when you want to maintain that solution and you have also the updates. On a public blockchain, those updates, especially in the VeChain Store blockchain, those updates are not costly at all to the end user or to the, excuse me, to the business that is using the public blockchain. And I want to use an example about the running cost and the difference between public and private. Recently, we had 2 startups that they left a private blockchain. I'm not going to name it for various reasons. And they joined the VeChain Store blockchain. And the reason was, for example, one certificate to be uploaded in the public blockchain of VeChain Store costs less than €1, where in the private blockchain, there was the cost of developing this solution, but also every time you uploaded it, there was a significant price. I think it was 100 times more than the certificates that was uploaded in the public blockchain. And the last one, it's about how easy it is to, let's say, create a consortium in a public blockchain. When I say consortium, for example, I'm going to use, without giving names because we're under NDAs, Mediterranean Hospital was the first one that hospital that was using the cert, and we have, I think, 2 or 3 more that are onboarding. So in order to create this consortium in a private blockchain, you need to share information of those, let's say, hospitals. But that can sometimes give a competitive disadvantage to the others that are joining. Whereas in a public blockchain, that information is actually transparency openness because it has been verified on the blockchain, so you don't need to do a due diligence. I think these are the, let's say, the main differences of the private and the public blockchain.